There was a lady who called me today about the crazy traffic congestion that seems to have jumped dramatically in recent weeks in the Portland Metro. We'll talk about that. And in Washington State, the state transportation agency known as WashDOT has literally said that congestion in some parts of Washington State is so bad, they literally sent out messages through a little application that is supposed to help you on your drive to work and your drive home that told people, go home and get back in bed. It's not worth the drive. I kid you not. That comes from a state agency. We'll talk about that as well. This wonderful lady called me this morning, well before I went on the air, but I was sitting here doing prep. And the phone rang, and I picked it up, and she said, I want to know something. And I said, what do you want to know? She was very sweet. And she said, I want to know why all of a sudden there's all this traffic on the roads. And I said, ma'am, it's because they don't build roads and freeways here in the Portland metro area. And she kind of laughed, and she said, well, no, seriously. I said, yes, seriously. They don't build roads and freeways in the Portland metro. And she said, I don't understand, though. In the last few weeks, it's like they flipped a switch or something, and all of a sudden, all the freeways and all the roads are crowded. She says, have we doubled the amount of traffic? And I said, ma'am, no, it's not like that. Now, I said, I dropped out of college, but I did take some econ before I left the University of Oregon. I said, if you have a roadway that's built for 1,000 cars an hour, and there are only 950 cars on it during every hour in rush hour, you're going to feel like you've got a roadway that just flows like butter. And then if you add 100 and you go to, say 1,050, so you're just a little bit above capacity, all of a sudden, it's going to feel like that roadway is jammed up like crazy. It doesn't take a 50% increase. And I'll tell you, there was some good news. Last month, the state of Oregon is said to have added 9,900, not the state government, but the state's economy, added 9,900 new jobs. Now, if you think about it, almost 10,000 new jobs means another 10,000 people getting to work. Some may get there on transit, but the vast majority get there in automobiles. Add 10,000 cars to the roadways around Oregon, and if half the population's in the Portland metro, add 5,000 cars during rush hour in the morning and night, and you might make a big difference, even if that's only 1,500 cars per hour in the 2 or 3 hours of rush hour. And she was a little bit satisfied, mollified by that. But I said, what you have to do? She said, how do we fix this? I said, elect some conservatives to office. Multnomah County, the city of Portland, and Metro don't have a single conservative on any of the governing boards. It's all liberals all the time. And she said, well, this isn't a liberal conservative thing. I said, yes, it is. I said, ma'am, with all due respect, conservatives and liberals have different solutions for problems. A liberal looks at a congested freeway and says, we need to pry people out of their cars and put them on bicycles or on foot or on a MAX train. A conservative looks at it and says, if there's a congested freeway, conservatives' answer is to supply the services that your customers need. Now, that's what private companies do all day long. If customers come in and they want plywood or they want apples or they want wheat, private businesses supply them. The city of Portland and governments like the governments in Oregon and Washington are the only ones that say, if there are too many cars on the freeway, we don't build a bigger freeway, we take some of the cars off the freeway. Case in point, WashDOT, which is Washington State's Department of Transportation, they have a little app that you can put on your phone that gives you advice about how to get to work and how to beat the rush hour and all that. This is literally one of the messages that was sent out to people who live in Everett, north of Seattle. It said, traveling south from Everett, your best is to go back to bed. Can't do that? Start walking 130 minutes from Everett to Seattle. Now, that was their advice. Start walking, or just call your boss and say, boss, I'm going home to bed. The freeways are too crowded because the state won't build anymore. John Lay writes in from Camas. Lars, you mentioned WashDOT sending out a text telling people to stay home because of traffic congestion. You should share with your listeners that 20 years ago, for the three-county area, King, Snohomish, and Pierce counties, the government spent a third of their transportation dollars on mass transit. 2/3 were spent on roads and bridges. Today, those numbers are reversed. 2 out of every 3 transportation dollars in the three-county area are spent on mass transit, bikes, and pedestrians. Only 1/3 is spent on roads and bridges. Of course, there are huge traffic jams and congestion when you have a war on cars and you only spend 1/3 of your transportation dollars on roads and bridges. Thanks for all you do. Well, thanks for the email and the good example.